Well, this week, prominent Democratic Senator Chuck Schumer dressed down President Obama for his hard focus on Obamacare during the depths of the recession. Senator Schumer, in a major speech, said economic matters should have taken precedence. We saw virtually no coverage of his remarks on the so-called Big Three television networks. Let's talk about it with our media panel. Judy Miller is here. She's a Pulitzer Prize-winning investigative reporter and author. Ellen Ratner is also with us, bureau chief for Talk Radio News Service. Both are Fox News contributors. Now, Chuck Schumer isn't just a random senator. He is the senior Democratic senator from the state of New York, a wily political tactician. And when he goes in front of the National Press Club and said, "We made a mistake on Obamacare," why are the major networks not paying attention? I mean, it didn't make the evening newscasts or the morning newscasts.
Well, John, they are doing exactly what they have done up until now, and that is bad news about Obamacare tends not to be covered, as it wasn't with Jonathan Gruber. If it's good news about Obamacare, that they managed to find time for in the evening news. But there is a kind of bias against bad news on this president's signature program.
Why?
Because I think most people think that the numbers on Obamacare, the media looks at this and buys the White House line that this is a great success. 10 million Americans are getting insurance who didn't have it before. This does do what the president said it would do, and that is sign up more people. 71%, according to the Gallup poll, said they were happy with the coverage they were now getting, which is larger than the ordinary insured population. But I found Chuck Schumer's decision to go out on front much more related to Democratic Party politics than I did anything having to do with Obamacare.
All right, some of the statistics could be quibbled with, but let's talk about the news coverage. If you're running one of the networks and Chuck Schumer comes out and says, we really spent too much time focusing on Obamacare, do you put that in your newscast?
Well, I know Senator Schumer quite well, and I think it is actually extraordinary that he came out and went after President Obama's choice. I happen to agree with President Obama's choice, but that's irrelevant. I think that the big networks should have absolutely, I agree with Judy Miller, should have covered this. It was a big news story, and it really, it is true that when there is some divide in the Republican Party, the news networks do not hesitate to carry it. But they should have carried this because there does mean that there is divide in the Democratic Party.
Well, and does it suggest that President Obama is going to have a rocky, last couple of years, at least within Democratic Party politics?
Absolutely, because Chuck Schumer was very close to President Obama in terms of many of his policies. And now this distancing himself from the president's signature program, this says that the midterm message has been received and that 2016 is well underway.
I mean, think of where we were, Ellen, in 2008. The financial markets had collapsed. People were getting laid off left and right. The unemployment rate was through the roof.
Well,
and the president spent the first 2 years of his term focusing on blowing up the nation's healthcare system.
Let me just tell you something about blowing up the nation's healthcare system. I wish that the news would have focused on the fact that we were the only westernized country that did not have some kind of comprehensive healthcare, that it did affect our economy, and that's where I think the president could have been more vocal, talking about how healthcare will affect our competitiveness as a nation. And the news media didn't pick up on that either. Now, that's from the left here, admittedly.
Come on, Ellen.
But that's where I'm from.
He made all kinds of promises that turned out not to be true. His rollout was a disaster. You have people like Jonathan Gruber. The American people don't believe him on this issue. They don't believe him on this program. At least a lot of Americans don't. And I think that's what you were seeing in Chuck Schumer's running away from him.
We were going to be able to keep our doctor if we wanted to.
Right.
That turned out not to be the case. It was going to cost $2,500 a year per family. That's been blown out of the water. I mean, there is not a lot about the way this program was sold that has turned out to be true.
I think actually there needs to be an investigation into how health care is delivered in this United States, and because it's so complicated, the news media doesn't deal with it. And I'm talking about malpractice costs. I'm one of these people that actually believes there should be a cap on malpractice costs. I know that's unusual for a liberal Democrat to say that, but it is. But there hasn't been a good investigation as to why there are so many increasing costs in health care.
And yet, when Chuck Schumer, who knows the issues and as I said is a wily politician, comes out and says, "Yeah, we made a mistake here,"
Well, what's strange about this is that normally Chuck Schumer would be with Obama.
Sure.
And now he seems to be aligning himself with the Elizabeth Warren faction of the party that says, no, this was totally the wrong way to go. We need to do more for the working poor. We needed to do more about wages, minimum wage. We needed to do more about creating jobs. I mean, Chuck Schumer is really focused on 2016.
Well, Chuck Schumer, you say you know him well. He's also a guy who says who is thought to have an aspiration to be the nation's first Jewish president.
I don't see that with Senator Schumer. I really don't. But what I do see is that, and the press did not cover this well, is there is some discussion in the Democratic Party. Not some, a lot of discussion. Why did we lose? And a lot of that is because they're saying the message did not reach the people.
Look, Chuck Schumer, the joke about Senator Schumer, who is very able as a tactician, as you pointed out, is that the most dangerous place in Washington is between him and a camera. So all of a sudden to have the major networks not cover him when he's dinging the president, when he's criticizing the president, that is news.
In front of the National Press Club,
absolutely.
I might add. All right. Ladies, thank you both. Ellen Ratner and Judy Miller.
Thank you.
Good discussion.